What is good? We're back and we are ready to roll. We got old Big Co in the house. The OG. What's up, dude?
The OG. I don't know if I could be described like that, but super excited to be here. Been too long.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have some gray hairs. You could be, I may, a little bit of an OG, but good to be here.
The OG tripod.
Sure.
We're going bipod tonight. But, we're going to do a little roster review because we've been pumping those out and we've been asking you for them. And so now we're going to be trying to stay on this every other week or so. So we got some patrons who submitted their rosters, some good, some bad. And the first video here, we are going to do probably a little bit more of in the rebuilding spectrum rather than like, hey, I'm ready to roll. Let me, how can I win the championship this year? So first one, how to rebuild for 2024, getting back in the swing of things.
Sure. I mean, this one's definitely the rebuild and he knows it. He said it. It's not a secret. And when we go through the roster, it'll be easy to see, but it is definitely a rebuild.
Right. So be sure to like, subscribe, comment below, all that jazz. These are coming from Patreon because we have a decent amount over there. If you're on Patreon and we haven't gotten to yours yet, we'll do some on the Patreon and we'll keep putting them over here until we're out. And then we'll go to the general public for some roster reviews. So
yeah, I like that, especially like the Patreon stuff. I consume from my house. We can knock a couple out.
Sure.
Won't have to look as fancy as this, but still
love it.
Fundamentally still talking about people's rosters. Want
to keep going because I think this is an important part. And, obviously the videos that we're putting out are five must trades, this, that. I think just getting in here, talking about the actual roster construction theory and as well as, real dynasty trades, putting real rosters on it is a real part of playing dynasty. So I think it's a good thing to establish and try to keep building on.
Absolutely. Well, I was listening to one of the podcasts y'all did recently and just now what you just said, how to rebuild for 2024. And I have some notes that I want to make sure that I talk about tonight. Not many, but definitely one or two things that I definitely want to put out there. You're listening to a rebuild podcast. The thing is, you got to be patient. Mm-hmm. You're most likely not rebuilding for 1 year. If you're reloading, if you're transitioning, if you're going to move some star power from running back spot to star power to wide receiver spot, that's one thing. But like this fella right here, AJ shot in his roster. It's really cool because he got second place.
Right. And so we did pick this one. I let Big Co make the picks on these. We are in a league. This is one of our leagues. So thought it would be a good one to kick off because we know the ins and outs.
Sure. I know the league. I've been in the league since the beginning. So it'd be easy. Some of these roster shots, you get a roster. You have no idea about the league. You don't have anything to go off of when you're talking about potential trades or this, or maybe you could look here, maybe you could look there. I thought this was a really good opportunity to talk about a roster knowing the league itself. We do a fair amount of these in the offseason through my teams. Mm-hmm. I'm in this league as well, not my team here. We'll go through his team, but knowing the league I thought was a good opportunity to be able to talk about it like that.
So what we got here, we got a super flex, non-tight end premium.
Right, regular PPR tight end.
Right, it's running back, wide receiver, tight end, two flexes, and then a super flex. So his starting lineup that he has currently in the screenshot is Jordan Love, Travis Etienne, David Montgomery, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp.
Not terrible.
No.
Not
George
terrible.
Kittle, Gabe Davis, Zeke, Derek Carr. And then on the bench, he's got Russell Wilson, Mostert, Antonio Gibson, Nuke, Keenan Allen, Lazard, Terry McLaurin, Jacoby Myers, Guyton, Bateman, Elijah Moore, Mechie, Velus Jones, Julio Jones, Parker Washington, Logan Thomas, and on IR, Swain, Naheem Hines, and Jelani Woods. So you can pretty much clear that out and just hang on to Jelani. And then taxi squad, he's got Xavier Hutchinson, Stetson Bennett, and Boutte. And then the picks for the year, very depleted here, which is, I think, a little bit of the issue. Mm-hmm. So he's just got a 2024 fourth. We don't know what pick it is because when he took this screenshot, the league calendar.
It's 411.
Right, it's 411. So he got second place this year. And then next year, he has all of his picks, but the second and the year after that, he has all of his picks. So in reading that, you're thinking, it's not a half bad team. But when you start reading through everything, it's like, you got Travis Etienne and Montgomery, which I like. And I like, Jordan Love, huge uptick in value.
Huge.
Derek Carr played well at the end of the season, but was, pretty pedestrian throughout most of it. Russell, we don't even know where he's going to be playing, and those are his quarterbacks. And then, it's Devontae Adams, it's Cooper Kupp, it's Mostert, who's 31 and a running back, Nuke, Keenan Allen. Those are his big dogs. And, we just, at any given point, those guys could be dust. They're losing every offseason you get into, they're losing value. We're back into the offseason.
Well, he's had Devontae Adams. Well, we're a couple weeks now from the championship week, but he bought Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, and Nuke. So this team, again, I'm in the league. So he basically got into the playoffs and said, I can't believe I made it to the playoffs. I'm trying to make a run and try to make some money. My team needs to be blown up, but here I am. So this team got carried. George Kittle, we knew that if Kittle and Purdy were healthy together, that George Kittle was going to make fancy music.
Sure.
So, like you said, Jordan Love crushed it this year. Second in TD passes behind Dak. So Jordan Love crushed it, and Montgomery and Etienne, hot and cold, but both decent. And Raheem, this guy offered me a 2 for Raheem Mostert last year, and I turned it down because my team was terrible, but we played for the 1-1, and I thought Mostert was going to help me advance through the losers bracket. And he offered me a second-round pick for Mostert this year at the beginning of the season, and I snapped it right up. And Mostert crushed it for him. So he had a couple of lightning in the bottle type players, and not that George Kittle's lightning in the bottle. And sure, Jordan Love he's been amazing, and it's awesome to see. Good for the Packers. Good for Jordan Love. Stock up Jordan Love with all those good young wide receivers.
What a fun core they have here.
Stock up wide receiver core for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is pissed. Sat around there for years waiting for somebody to get drafted to help out Devontae Adams, and it never happened. All of a sudden, they got 4 stud young wide receivers. It's amazing. Good for them. And that other dude, that Gus or Bus or somebody with a 3-letter name that had to come out for the Packers that's been good too, their 5th receiver, because everybody's
Bo Melton.
Bo, but yeah, Bo, go Gus, Bus, Bo, sure. Bo's good too. They got 5 receivers. Good for them.
Heath came in and was all right.
Crazy. Whoever's run that draft room for the Packers wide receivers. Anyway, so he had a couple of lightning in the bottle players. Well, he won second place. The variance of fantasy football usually comes to kick you in the butt when you got one of the best teams in the league and you make it in the playoffs and you just get whacked by somebody and you could have beat anybody the next week kind of thing. The variance of fantasy football is what we love and hate about it. This fella, AJ, gets into the playoffs and makes absolute noise, gets to the second place game, gets to the championship, takes second place, so gets money back for prior years and, fair amount of future money. So I love to see that. But, you got a league where a team hadn't been great and all of a sudden, boom, they catch light in the bottle. It's really cool. So going forward, he's like, what do I do? So he just traded a couple of 2s. He really got Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp and Nuke for cheap. I think he got them for 2 2s and a 3, and anything else would have been less than that value. There was a couple of people in the league that wasn't too exactly thrilled with the trade, but he made the deal, and nobody, I guess he could have gotten probably the seller of those guys could have gotten more, but the package deal was on the table and pulled the trigger. Literally, he really did get them cheap.
Yeah, you get them cheap, and the seller of those has probably been offering those to a lot of guys with similar value, and they didn't take it.
Sure. Well,
you usually don't just send those guys to one player. You see if anybody else can kind of pick them up.
You've been in leagues with me where we've had last year where we had no luck trying to get rid of Diggs. No luck trying to get rid of Keenan Allen. No luck trying to get rid of Mari Cooper. No luck trying to get rid of Mike Evans. Any of those older receivers, anytime you get 29-30, it's very hard to sell them.
Right.
And, even Devontae Adams, a year and a half ago.
Drag their feet over a 2 on some of those guys.
Just a year and a half ago, Devontae Adams, best wide receiver in the league. He's worth everything. And then, boom, you get 30. Derek Carr goes away for, you take a couple weeks off from being awesome. And just like that, we turn our backs on you. Just like that. Happens. Cooper Kupp, hamstring problems. Puka comes along. We turn our back to you. Cooper Kupp's cheap as he can be. So anyway, I just feel like this is a really good roster to look at with some. He's got all the aging vets.
Right.
He had. I've talked about Mostert and Jordan Love and stuff, but, he had Keenan Allen. So top, what is that, first 8-10 weeks of the season, even more than that, 10-12 weeks.
Until he went out.
Keenan Allen, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, if that, just right behind The cheetah. I mean, Keenan Allen every week just catching 15
Crushing.
balls. Crazy. Hopkins was very up and down for you. So now you turn the page. Boom. I made some money. I talked about being patient. Like AJ, in this specific instance here, you got Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams could very easily be very good next year. Be very good next year. I'm thinking that you're in this. This is me. Hey, I just got some money for second place. That's why I really want to talk about this team. It's like, all right, well, I just got some cash. You need to tear this thing down, sell it, and unfortunately, you can't do that in the offseason with a Devontae Adams or a Cooper Kupp.
The cheapest they're going to be.
The worst thing to do is sell Devontae Adams in the rookie draft when people have rookie fever and they hate 30-year-olds.
Right.
The best thing to do is catch them coming through the preseason. They get up,
Devontae, especially if for some reason he gets moved to the Jets, he'll get even more value.
Or somehow he ends up on the Chiefs. I know that's a division rival, but you know what I mean. Hey, oh my God, because the Chiefs.
Cooper Kupp ain't going nowhere, but
T.
Devontae
Higgins
has
could be
chance.
a cheap. Somebody. There's going to be a big. The Chiefs are going to get somebody make a splash after what happened this year with their offense, and there's a wide receiver out there that's going to have a massive uptick in value. Whoever that ends up being, trade, free agency sign, whatever, something like that. But yeah, I get it. Like maybe the Raiders, ship Adams over there to the Jets to reunite with his boy. You got to wait for the upticks on these old guys, but you need to be set. Like, in the patience part, he's got no draft picks this year anyway. So maybe in the draft, if you catch the right person, you could trade a Cooper Kupp or a Devontae Adams in the rookie draft if you felt like you got really decent value. Yeah. But next year, you get those. You sell.
You want to
these
be
guys,
buying the veterans on the offseason, not sell. You don't want to be on the selling end a lot of the times.
Most often, it's suboptimal. And like a Gabe Davis. I mean, obviously, you're stuck with him at the moment. Maybe
he's going to be a free agent, so he'll change teams too. There could be an uptick in value.
Maybe. I don't know if I want him to change teams. I think he's
a free agent. He could stay, he could go, but
I don't see any. I would, if I had to call it right this second, I'd say Gabe Davis comes back to the Bills. They love his run blocking. He's a nice target for Josh Allen. He hasn't been nearly as consistent as we'd like him to be for fantasy football, but I don't think the team has any problems with him.
Yeah,
he's a captain. They're happy with him.
Big fan of Shane Gillis.
Is he?
Yeah, they hang out.
Nice. I think I knew that. I wouldn't have pulled that out, but I knew that now that you mentioned it about that story about him hanging out. Gonna have to get Gabe Davis in the right light to be able to. But he's like 23. Like, I'm not in a hurry to sell Gabe Davis.
I don't think he's at it yet.
Maybe 24. Like he's not nearly somebody on this team that needs to be worried about. Hopkins.
He'll be 25.
Okay, so Hopkins, Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is so old. You're just going to have to wait. He said he wants to come back to the Chargers next year. You're just going to have to wait until he's out there catching balls. Like this, Terry McLaurin, we know how good Terry McLaurin is.
Yeah.
They're about to get they're probably about to get a quarterback situation.
Well, you're going to get twofold there. So if you get an offensive, if Ben Johnson or one of these offensive coordinators end up in DC, and you're going to get most likely Drake May or Caleb Williams if you can finagle a trade. There's going to be an uptick in value. So you're holding Terry, right? I mean, we get you kind of right now. We've been doing a lot of holding.
Unfortunately, unless you find a Washington fan in your league, unless there's like a Terry fan. Like I know you love Terry McLaurin. I know you respect. I respect Terry McLaurin's game. There hasn't been enough targets for Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett comes in, he scores 20 points
right away. Like that's all you need to know.
3 series.
The problem is he 27 going on 28 already?
I think he's 28.
The holding Terry McLaurin problem is the problem because you can't sit around. If you could tell me that Jacoby Brissett was going to be in there and start next game, I'll plug Terry McLaurin in my lineup and not think twice about it. But if Sam Howell's in there being indecisive and he's been sacked 75 times this year, so he's like just watching the rush at this point. First 5 weeks of the season, we all love some Sam Howell. Like you just can't keep going like that. You can't get sacked every other play and expect it not to really hurt your eyes from a quarterback's perspective. So there's a lot of moves to be made with this team, but there's a lot of patience to be made. Like you're going to be waiting on the ability to sell some of these guys. In the meantime, you can't ride out with Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne, David Montgomery, their boys are not getting any younger. They're not old by any means. Montgomery's obviously a little bit older, but like you got to sell your 2 running backs. And you want to tank your team anyway, So like you're not going to wait. you're not going to let Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp crush it on your starting lineup for 6 weeks next year. You're just hurting your draft pick. Like, you need Jordan Love, young enough, ridiculously cool wide receiver core. I would have no problem hanging on to Jordan Love and riding this thing out, keeping Jordan Love. He's a good wide receiver, good quarterback. Have been fun young wide receivers. Obviously, they're headed in the right direction. Staple of the team. Keep them. Russell Wilson, wow. That's just a stroke of bad luck for this team right now, but at least he'll go get somewhere. Whoever signs him, because they're not trading him, whoever signs him will at least be wanting him. You know, you're not going to leave that head coach with that system, and very rarely you're not going to be like happy to see that that departure. Yeah. But at least you get away from something like Sean Payton didn't want him, upset, just the bad match. Yeah. So at least Russell Wilson can go to somebody who wants him wherever he ends up.
As much as I dislike Russell Wilson, it just seems like Sean Payton is also a JO. So just did not enjoy Sean Payton's antics for most of this season, and the way he handles himself in press conference seems a bit like a jerk off.
Agreed. I mean, he definitely has taken a publicity hit for sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Anyway.
Practice patience, trade for some draft picks, and then what you really need to do, the patience, the thing again. You're going to need to trade those draft picks away, most likely, to the following year's draft picks and get more draft picks.
Trade down, trade around.
If you come up with if you trade one of these guys for a second, when you get that pick on the clock, unless you can tell the future and be like, hey, this is Puka or this is Tank Dell in the late second or third round pick last year. Unless you can figure out who that is, you're most likely better off being like, all right, I'll trade you this 2.5 for a 2 and a 3 next year or something like that. Or maybe you go from 2.5 to 3.5 and you get a 2 next year in a fourth or something. You have to stack that capital and push it, because you obviously went to the playoffs this year. You had a couple of lightning in the bottles, but how easy would it be for us to see a 31-year-old Mostert not do anything? Keenan Allen could retire. You know what I mean? And those were two guys leading the way. Be patient with your Adams and your Kupp. Devontae Adams, everybody knows how good he is. Cooper Kupp, everybody knows how good he is. You don't have to, you could sell those guys. They're not Keenan Allen age, but just the way we've been treated in leagues lately, with the way we've been treated in leagues lately, trying to sell, it's Mike Evans. In a rookie draft last year, we just needed a pick, man. We had that team, you and I, we just needed a draft pick. We needed a draft pick so bad. It was burning a hole in our pocket that we didn't have one. And we just tried to we were rebuilding a team, trying to trade Mike Evans, and we offered Mike Evans to the guy at 2.2, offered him for 2.3, offered him for 2.4, offered him for 2.5. I think we sold him for 2.9, 2.10. Was it?
Yeah.
And then Mike Evans comes out, he's top 5 wide receiver again.
But still, probably wouldn't. We probably could have gotten a little more than what we have, but still, nobody. I didn't see almost any trade in any league of Mike Evans getting moved for anything of value.
Exactly. He either helps your team right there at the moment, or he hurts your draft pick.
Right.
There's only 2 ways to go about it, and the best part of that is, because he's got he doesn't have Mike Evans, but he's got all the other old good wide receivers.
Sure.
He doesn't have Mike Evans, all the other ones. This year, before the season started, I came on here and I started talking about when startups best asset available.
Yeah.
Buy. That's what you kept saying while I was best asset available. And then the 2 guys I was picking on was Keenan Allen and Mike Williams or something. They were getting taken in the 9th round of the startups. If you had a decent team and you took Keenan Allen in the 9th round of the startup, he was helping you crush.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so was Mike Evans before he got hurt. But just like you said, show us a real good trade return on even Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen or Mike Evans, show me a really good return you got for him this year.
Just ends up always being 2s.
At a minimum, you either hurt your draft pick if you were setting up to try to be bad and have a good, a good young team with a good set of draft picks, and you just said, oh, well, I got to take this value on Keenan Allen. If you didn't trade him early enough in that, he's just hurting your draft pick, or you had a good team and he was ready to help you crush, you can't trade him for anything. He's got to be one of your catalysts towards the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what AJ did right here. AJ had Keenan Allen, he had a Mostert and a couple other cats, and he just churned right along.
Right.
In a league where there was a couple other guys rebuilding.
Right.
And it's kind of top heavy. It's a couple of good teams. couple of decent teams and a bunch of bad teams. And when you get into playoffs, anything can happen. And AJ went in there and got some money back.
Yeah. So, I think you like you said, I think you're selling ETN. I think you're selling Montgomery. I think ETN, you probably can get, some good draft capital and maybe a lower level player. Like that's how I try to throw it in there. That's young, just how many firsts can I get for ET, and how many ones and twos and all that jazz can I get, and then can I get some other younger players who hadn't broke? Can I get Kendre Miller in that trade?
That's a good name.
And just young guys that could break out and really elevate in value. That's what I'm looking to do right here.
Sure.
In these trades. And then Montgomery, can I get a first from anybody for him?
Probably not.
And then, all right, well, who do I gotta add in this to get a first from? Can I throw Jacoby Myers in there?
Nope.
I'm just saying, like, what can I overload this team with to try to figure out how to get another first for moving David Montgomery off my team?
I like it. So the bad timing of it is like the Travis Etienne, the Jags kind of stumbled their way into the end. Etienne wasn't nearly as electric as he started out to be. The whole team, the whole offense crumbled around what's his name's injuries, quarterback's injuries.
Travis or T-Law.
T-Law got Trevor had 5 different injuries at the end of the year, couldn't do anything. And they looked terrible after that great start. So not the best time to force a trade with ETN, but he's outside of Jordan Love.
The value's still holding all right in the startup that we're doing.
I mean, it's not a tight end premium, but you got Jordan Love, you got ETN, and George Kittle, and those are your 3 names that'll be the easiest to trade anytime you want. You could trade George Kittle tonight. You could trade ETN tonight. You could trade Jordan Love tonight. Nobody's going to argue with you. You come up with a decent trade package, boom, you could trade those guys tonight. I wouldn't trade Jordan Love unless I got a ransom because he looks awesome. And he's still, it's his first year starting. Looks way better than I thought he would. And I didn't think he had any talent to work with. I love Christian Watson, and Dubs was fine, but boom, all of a sudden there's players everywhere.
I think if I could maybe get into like the top 6 of a super flex draft this year with Jordan Love, I probably would. That's May. This is, I guess Bowers wouldn't be maybe considered in the top 6 because this isn't tight end premium, but you're getting Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., you're getting Jaden Daniels, you're getting May, Caleb, and then you can throw Odunze in there since it's not premium. So any of those guys, I might be down to swap out for Jordan Love there.
I think you got to go to me. I mean, maybe 5. We'll see what happens where Jaden Daniels ends up and stuff. But like I like Roman Dubes. I'm not going to sit here and know nearly as much about college players.
Yeah, I think once you get to Rome, you try to ask for more. But
it's not. But just because it's super flex, like the value of Jordan Love, he's so young and he's got those receivers and stuff. Like you just can't trade him if it's not for another quarterback. And even at this point, a proven quarterback. I'm not saying that I wouldn't give Jordan Love for Caleb Williams because I would.
Oh, sure.
Because you got to try the upside. But like all Jordan Love has done is come in here and done what. And you think about the fact that all those receivers are second year or earlier, and it was his first year, and he's got a great offensive minded coach, like, and the running backs took turns being hurt.
Sure.
Like what?
Yeah, I'm not dying to get rid of him, but I would move him for a higher end potential asset.
Jordan Love, but he is the higher end potential asset. Is what I'm trying to say. And I traded him away off the team last year that I really wish I didn't trade him away off of now. And so, but I sold high, and I talk about this all the time. I sold high. When you sell high, you could be ready. Could it go higher? Could it go lower? Blah, blah, blah. Like I sold high on Jordan Love. Boom, it's way higher.
Yeah.
And I think there's another step to go higher. So good for Jordan Love, like we talked about. But I like that you picked a number, and I like that I kind of zeroed it in a little bit for my taste, whatever. But I mean, to me, it probably had to be that top 4. And again, like a Neighbors.
Yeah, I could go to 5 and throw Daniels in there.
Of course, I'm gonna like the Heisman Trophy winning,
Yeah, I've been watching Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. and I mean he's pretty dynamic. So I mean I like you said, I mean it's hard not. I could draw the line there. It's hard not to get a quarterback back. Maybe if I'm, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to come in right away and be a top 5 wide receiver fantasy asset.
But already in super flex, if I would take Travis Etienne and I'd gobble him up with your Russell Wilson. And I would throw a name like a Cooper Kupp on there. So I'll give you Travis Etienne, Cooper Kupp, Russell Wilson, and you give me that 1-4.
Yeah, I'll give you George Kittle too.
that's throwing away half the team. But
well, whatever.
But I'm saying, Travis. I mean, but that's a lot. That's a starting line. That's not a bunch of scrubs. I mean, that's a starting lineup. Travis Etienne,
we
Cooper
would
Kupp,
maybe try to work a more of a package.
Russell
Kittle's
Wilson.
value is in general just when we're doing tight end premium pick startups, like he's
Still
down.
not good enough.
He's still down in the 6th, 7th, 8th round. Right now.
but I mean, so
that's in premium.
Yeah. So I mean, but look, if you got a trade offer and it had Travis Etienne in it, Cooper Kupp, and Russell Wilson, like you got to look at it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't say 1-1.
Yeah.
But 1-4 gives you one of those top 4 players.
Right. So yeah, no, I mostly agree with kind of the what you're cooking up there. I think it's gonna take some packages to get, if you want to get higher end known assets, or at least higher end the couple of assets that are coming out in this draft that are pretty highly coveted already. It's gonna be tough to get those guys.
Basically, what I've learned, and I'm trying to really, what I've learned lately is it's so hard to get a trade done if you're not willing to move the fun players.
Right.
So
and overpay a little sometimes.
Exactly. If you can get a 2 for DeAndre Hopkins right now, he just gave 2 2s and a 3 and maybe something else that wasn't even as valuable for Hopkins. I mean, he obviously he could take that package that he bought for Hopkins, Cooper Kupp, and Devontae Adams and flip it and make a profit. But you're still not going to take those 3 guys and turn into like a high-end first or anything. But if you could get a 2 for Hopkins and you could get a 2 plus, you could probably get a late first for Devontae Adams. You could probably get a high 2 for Cooper Kupp. So
something's gonna have to change for Devontae Adams to get a low first for him right now without adding something else, I think.
Yeah, and again, every league. Every specific.
League, sure.
The other 11 guys in this league, and 2 of them are me and you. So the other 9 guys in this league, including me and not including me and you, saw him buy these guys for super cheap. So that's going to taint the waters initially. But when the juices get flowing, you come back through, and you're getting close to August next year, and you got some teams that are looking to win some points, win some games, and win some money. Like a Devontae Adams and a Cooper Kupp, they're going to look juicy all over again. Cooper Kupp is going to look a lot less juicy because he missed half the season with that hamstring, and he came back. He had a couple good games, but
and you're about to go into the play. Like some of these guys are in the playoffs right now. Cooper Kupp can go in the playoffs and show some life and reestablish a little bit. Gabe Davis could go in there and have a big game and get everybody a little fired up. George Kittle could go in there and have he's been having good games. Obviously, Derek Carr's not in the playoffs. But I'd be trying to figure out how I can get rid of Derek Carr. At least he had a decent end of the season.
Right. But like a Jacoby Myers, if you can get a 2nd round pick for Jacoby Myers.
And see, like that's for me, we're about to do some buy lows, and Jacoby Myers would be a guy I'm buying all day long if I have a decent team.
Yeah. But in Superflex, I'll take a 2nd round pick for Jacoby Myers all day.
Yeah. Sure.
And then you got Rashad Bateman. He used to be worth the first. Now he's not. Elijah Moore. If he just got horribly looking at the injury was terrible looking, but him and Joe Flacco were about to make some stuff happen over there. He's young. Wait on him. Mechie, hopefully he continues to progress. You like Xavier Hutchinson on the taxi squad, and if Stetson Bennett could ever come back around, that's a nice little piece to have down there on the taxi. Ride him out for a while, but basically, like I'm saying, like Jacoby Myers, you could be the buyer for Jacoby, you could be the seller for Jacoby. You're probably going to get just as much for Jacoby Myers as you're going to get for somebody who's quote unquote worth way more, like a DeAndre Hopkins or a Cooper Kupp. It's going to be about the same, unfortunately, because everybody's an ageist in Dynasty, and I understand it because it just 2 years ago I was like, man, I'll take Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams and at 112 and 2-1, and I'll kick your butt with them. And, you probably did that same year, but maybe the year after that, here we are. Like I said, just the depreciating asset is just getting more, these young stud you get a good draft class in, man, and everybody hates the old guys.
Oh, sure.
We just had a really good draft class, and we got some studs coming out this year. And it just happens every year.
You said, if we're in Superflex, and this isn't tight end premium, so you might downgrade the tight ends a little bit, but the 2 for Jacoby Myers, it's all how you're looking and how your team is and what you've like. I don't mind paying the 2 for Jacoby Myers, if it's a later 2, and just knowing that I'm going to get a floor of 10 points and a ceiling of 20 if he just has a quarterback. Like he's a really good player. He's been super consistent for 3 years now, even through the doldrums of this season.
Oh, he was doing really well when with Jimmy G in there,
right, and then still had some was mostly startable in PPR, towards the end of the season. So like, if I can get somebody like that on the bottom of my roster, I know some people aren't going to like that, but those are the kind of guys that I look for to give me some consistencies. And I got a known thing here rather than taking the shot at the second. This is a really good class for seconds here, and I'm a big proponent of, if I'm a rebuilder or a reloader, I'm a big proponent of, it's way easier to get the seconds from people. So just depends on which way I'm going, how I feel about the second round pick.
And I mean, for me, it all depends on which one. I mean, there's a huge difference between 2-4 and, like you said,
Sure.
late 2-11 and 2-4, two different things. Jacoby doesn't get enough respect for sure. But
in this team, I'm selling.
In this, what is he going to do for you?
Right.
That's what
he would be a package up guy for me.
He'd be put another good looking name on the list of things you're selling to get something good.
Right. So. And then to sort of wrap this up, and then I'll let you have kind of a final word. I think like we stated at one point in here, there are a couple of guys who are either free agents or situations can change. One being Devontae Adams. You saw Garrett Wilson giving up the 17. Is Devontae Adams reuniting with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers? If that happens, I think you see a value spike.
For sure. Does that? I saw the number change, but I didn't think that had anything to do with it.
Well, I mean,
I didn't even. It never popped in my mind about Devontae.
Is that a possibility? There's been a little bit of rumblings here and there. Antonio Gibson's a free agent. He's going to sign somewhere else. What if Antonio Gibson goes to the Ravens? What if Antonio Gibson goes to the Texans?
Sure.
Antonio Gibson gets to the landing spot, and it's like, we know this is a good pass catcher. He just hasn't been used, and he's a pretty good player. That he can rebound his value. Devontae Adams can rebound the value. Like Gabe Davis is a free agent. We could see a little uptick there. Derek Carr and the older guys, you got to wait and see. Keenan Allen's probably not going anywhere. Lazard and Terry McLaurin could get a little upgrade in value through the cycle of the season of new coaches, new quarterback. Jacoby Myers probably isn't going to get any love. Bateman more as we get further down this list. Julio, Parker Washington, that might be somebody that you could package up with somebody of saying, hey, there was a nice little. I'm giving you a young guy here who could have some hope.
Sure.
So I think again, practicing the patience kind of thing. I think there's some guys on this team who aren't old veterans that you could practice some patience with as the situations and the league calendar and they go through the ups and downs of the season, of the off season and the news cycle. I think some of those guys will catch some upswings, and you just got to be active. Patience. Active patience is, and just not selling for pennies on the dollar on a lot of these.
Sure. And his future of selling some of these wide receivers is going to be, I was just clicking through the league here. Like, what you try to do is go find the person that has the least amount of valuable wide receivers and say, hey, I got some wide receivers here. I got Terry McLaurin. Obviously you just saw me buy, Cooper Kupp and Devontae. I was trying to win some money. They helped me. I got to second place. I won some money, but I'm tearing it down now. I got Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp. I got some good guys to sell. Keenan Allen probably not going anywhere. Probably got to hold him until he's catching the ball and then get a second for him next year, hopefully. Or package two of these guys up and get maybe a second from a bad team. But what I was meaning by that is I'm a team in this league that doesn't have a lot of wide receivers. But unfortunately, I'm not buying any of your old ones because I've drafted a terrible team in this league and I'm trying to recover from, I'm trying to build up.
Yeah, I just bought into this league and
you took over an orphan, so you're not buying any. So off the rip, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin. Unless Terry McLaurin was super cheap, Terry McLaurin's not going to do me any good because I'm still not ready to compete. I'm trying to compete.
Midway through next season, I might say, hey, right. I might buy some of these guys. But
so you have
not because my team stinks.
So that's when you're doing this, you have to look around and see what teams you have to work with. So that's why sometimes the value. Can get whoever sold these guys gave away a good deal, but he caught a buyer at the right time to give as much as he could give. Mm-hmm. And sure, could he have gotten more? Yes, but at the same time,
maybe. I
say this all the time, but if Devontae Adams would have tore his knee in the next game, then that package doesn't look nearly as fun. So he got what he could get, and now AJ's got to turn around and he's got his money in his pocket. He got lucky. He worked hard for that luck, and now he's going to have to work on this moving forward, just because you don't want to let those guys die on your roster.
Yeah.
That's hey, should I get more than a 2 for Cooper Kupp? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not trying to say don't give away Cooper Kupp for 211, but if that's the best deal you can get, you're not trying hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to try any harder, that's fine. But you can get better than 211 for Cooper Kupp. I promise you that. You've got to try a little harder.
Right.
And Devontae Adams, so now I can guarantee you AJ is going to come in here and be grinding during that rookie draft, before, during, and after, trying to figure something out. It'd be very interesting to see what he does with his
Probably
team.
going to be after.
But don't be the guy who, obviously he's been active, he's doing this, but, don't let these guys sit on your roster and say, man, I couldn't get enough, because getting nothing is way worse.
Yeah.
Even if you just came out with obviously he just bought him, so that's kind of different. But if you have a Cooper Kupp on your roster right now and you need to rebuild, or Keenan Allen or this guy, there's no reason to let him ride off into sunset. Don't Julio Jones him.
Right.
He gone. He came back with the Eagles, but
right.
The trade value on Julio was gone 2 years ago. Don't let that happen to your guys.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this one up, and let's head over to the other team. But real quick, just a little outro. Appreciate you guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment below, all that jazz, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.